Hi, welcome everyone to Digital Transformation Consulting. This is Kamakshi Nathan. Today we will be discussing about the data-driven strategy and practices. What data is going to help me in order to achieve my organization strategy. Let's start with the problem statement, which we usually do. Without data, can my business sustain? So without any data, I'm just running a petty shop, or I'm just running a mid-size organization, or like a high-level organization without any past year, previous financial data or whatever data. Can my business sustain? Surely, definitely it is not, because unless we don't know the pulse of the existing business, I cannot traverse to the next stage of my business. Hence, data is definitely required. And now, what will data analysis strategy improve my business? So what data I need? I just need the past income statement, or the profit and loss statement, or the sales CRM statement. Will that data alone is enough to drive my business in the future, or should I need a continuous data analysis strategy in order to improve my business? The next step is, how should I adopt the D&A strategy? If I know what is the exact latest data and analysis strategy I have, how should I adopt it? Right. So these are the questions that will be answered in next 30 minutes. Today we will be discussing on the introduction of this data and analytics strategy. So when you see, there is a lot of insights from the global data summits, from the CEO circle made by Gartner, Forrester, and Deloitte. What do the circles say? What do they say about data? They just need the traditional last year, or last 5 years statement is enough for them to take a decision on the business strategy in the competitive environment right now, or they need something different. Let's take an example for the continuous glucose monitoring in healthcare industry. We will discuss this particular data strategy is not only applied for one domain, it will be across all the domains. The same data and analytics strategy can be used. Now let's take an healthcare example. So continuous glucose monitoring. When a patient is having some issues, some health issues, related to his insulin secretion, and which are there are some issues which are tied to it. So continuous glucose monitoring is the latest technology, where it will continuously monitor the glucose for 3 days continuously and provide the data through an IoT. It will feed the data, and then we will come to know the pattern of how the insulin secretion is happening in the patients, and the doctor can take a decision out of it. So similarly, in an organization, there should be a continuous monitoring of data to understand the pulse, or to understand the nature of the progress of the organization that is being made. Hence, a continuous collection of data is required in order to take a decision. So let's take another example, the goal setting dashboard. For example, it's if it is a bank, I'm having an account in the bank, and I am having a goal to achieve, for example, 5 crore or 10 crore in 5 years. So there will be a data goal for it. What should I do? Okay, and what is the money that I'm pumping in? Okay, and this is not only for the retail business, it applies for the corporate business also. In next 5 years, if I want to grow like 20% or 50% in the revenue, or in the scale, or whatever scale it is, so we need to have the continuous data monitoring in order to find out the pulse where we are. And let's take a manufacturing industry where the smart meters through IoT again gets a collection of continuous data, which will help to understand the pattern and then move forward. And if you take a farming, we can't just sell a product to the farmer and just run away nowadays. So it is not going to be helpful. So there is a customer journey mapping, where the company or organization will collect the data from a different ecosystem, from the satellites, from the soil, and from the ecosystem, from the environment, finding out what parameters does it affect for the farmers to plant a plantation. Okay, so if we travel, along with the customer, okay, to achieve their goals, automatically my organization goals are getting achieved. So a farmer cannot spend that much amount of money investing in finding out, how is the soil, or what kind of environment will be there for next 1 or 2 years, things like that. So during that time, as an organization, if we collect those information, which will be helpful for the farmers also. So it is not just win-lose situation, it's also a win-win situation behind the company and the customer. Next is the insurance domain. I'm just taking an example of collect Fitbit data. So Fitbit data, for 1 to 6 months, if I'm collecting a Fitbit data, it will automatically analyze my whole pattern of intake, the fruits and vegetables, or my way of walking, etc., and which will suggest me to take a direction out of it, because it understands my total pattern or pulse of my activity going forward. And next one is the sharing the mobile data from the logistics domain. And if you see, which will lessen the traffic jams. If my GPS is sending the continuous data, it could automatically drive me to a place, okay, where it is less traffic, as well as it can predict me, when I will be reaching there. So everything runs with data, and we can't skip this data analytics, or the data anywhere in the organization when we are taking a strategic decision out of it. Let me move to the next slide. Okay, so what is a classic data and analytics program? So there is a difference. So there is a program and there is a strategy, data driven strategy. When I say a program, you have a specific set of goal or a point where I apply this D&A strategy and I just move off. For example, I am taking a 2 or 3 year project where the business changes and the process changes comes in, okay, and I have a specific goal that I need to achieve this particular goal or vision on a particular 2 to 3 years, and then leave that strategy alone. So that is not is required for at an enterprise level. Actually, data is required at an enterprise level. On the right hand side, if you see, there is continuous data driven strategy, which provides the data as a catalyst to take a decision. Okay, see, in our mind, okay, we can only purview or can patternize or stereotype certain things, or certain insights can only be done by the human eye. But when it comes to the system, it can provide correlation or regression analysis, or multiple analysis to find out what is the link between the parameters or fields in the ecosystem, and it will provide a totally complete insight apart from the human mind. So what are the data that we're going to fit inside the data is what we need to come up. So that includes the business model inputs to it, and the customer experiences input to it, okay, customer journey mapping, okay, and what are the decisions and work based on the inputs that you are going to take. And then basically we need to collect the capabilities and deficits of my organization by having the data insights, and then I'm going to take an action whether I'm going to increase the capability or how to decrease the deficits, which is actually providing me an enterprise operating model, which I call it as an enterprise operating model. So if we run with the traditional way, okay, the inputs or the insights is going to be very less, where I'm going to take a pretty old decision making which may or may not succeed, okay, in the current environment. And there is a lot of data available over the sources, we need to use that. So there is a difference between a program success and enterprise success. Data approach is not just at a program level, it has to be implemented at the enterprise level. Not only just one department or a specific group of departments is going to help me. For example, take a finance. Okay, if my goal is to increase the financial revenue from 20% to 50% in next 3 years, what is my strategy? Okay, if I'm going to just only look at the financial perspective, that is definitely not going to help unless we look the data from a customer perspective and from the competition perspective. So the data has to be driven from the enterprise success level, not at just the program success level. Now let's look at the modern approach to the data analytics strategy. Now who will be taking part in this data analytics strategy? Let me tell the role. Okay, so there can be a chief data officer, there can be a chief analytics officer, or a chief information officer, or just a business reporting executive, or even just a PMO in your organization. Okay, so whether you are going to create a separate role or department for collecting this data, strategy is up to your organization level. How do you want to drive it? It can be a separate chief information officer who looks at all the data. He has a complete analytics strategy or the data strategy where he has to pull in and drive the business accordingly. And this CIO will report to either CEO or an MD, providing insights about the organization. And what is the modern approach? On the left hand side, you see the the data and analytics strategy. On the right hand side, we see the operating model, and in the center is the capabilities and deficits. Okay, so what is meant by a strategy? First, we will discuss about all these hexagonal blocks in each and every slide, and we will move ahead. So first thing, what is the strategy? Okay, when I say what is the strategy, it should have, in general, it should have a vision and mission, and what is the enterprise purpose of this organization, and what is the success criteria that I'm going to define, and what are the critical relationships and outcomes. Okay, instead of just looking at internal stakeholders, just the external stakeholders, we need to also have the insights of the internal stakeholders, and ways the enterprise create value, and the maturity models to evaluate. Okay, and do I have the capabilities and deficits to evaluate the maturity models? Strategy is always a dynamic. What is meant by a strategy? Strategy is you have to sit with your stakeholders, and then you have to discuss about the complete strategy with all the stakeholders, and what is their expectation. Is just a conversation that you have made to have. You can't just create one thing at a time and to project it, and that is not going to help. Strategy is always a dynamic. It comes with the outcomes and value propositions, can change or augment the business model through the feedback loops. I would say strategy is just a conversation. Strategy is very dynamic. Strategy is a value proposition where it gives the purpose of organization existence. Next, let me move on to the operating model. And if we want to achieve this strategy, whatever we converge or converse with the stakeholders and came up with a particular strategy, with a particular vision or mission, and how is my operating model is going to be, and what are the capabilities and deficits that has to make the operating model much more efficient in order to achieve my vision or goals. So for that, we need a necessary data and analytical assets with a managed life cycle, and we need to see how the environments, platforms, and tools will support my architecture or data ecosystem to provide a better delivery model. So always the strategy and operating model is continuously linked, right? So it can be achieved through the capabilities and deficits. We need to find out through the data, and we need to align continuously. When I say continuous, it has to be really continuous. So when I say continuous, the stakeholder outcomes or the interests or the expectations should be continually discussed and refined, and then so that I understand my capabilities and deficits, and accordingly I will continuously refine the architecture and data ecosystem, which will provide my delivery model better for the customers and achieve what exactly my organization wants. What are the most important elements of a data strategy? So when I say the elements, right? So when it has to be a data driven, there must be a framework, and I need to understand what is my business model, what is my channels, and how we can change, and up and apart from that, what are the definite parameters that will make me identified to get me to there. Okay, which is a very important thing. So first let us discuss the first block, data driven vision. So this is nothing but how are we going to set up our enterprise data. Okay, for that, what are the inputs that I need? I need my business model analysis and the complete environmental scan. It is not just only my stakeholders. I need to also look at my competitors as well as the government or the entire ecosystem or the entire globe or the climate or whatever it is. So definitely I need to do a complete environmental scan. I need to do all the exploration which may have minimal to maximum impact to my organization. I have to measure it. Unless I measure it, I don't know what is the effect that I'm going to have in my organization. So if you see, I need to do a lot of strategies and plan change. You see, like a pharmaceutical company said, we strive for a world where information provides actionable insight to prevent, detect, or predict diseases of all kinds. So when I say prevent and detect, it includes preventing, detecting, predicting. So all these things I need to do in order to achieve my vision. So in order to detect or predict and to prevent, I need definitely the data, right? So what are the parameters that I need to figure out what exactly is going to affect my data? For example, let's take the farmer data. I need to know what is, I can't just sell the product to the farmer and just run away. I'm interested in his model, in his profit, how the customer is going to achieve the profit, and how my solution is going to help him, right? And I need to find out what is missing. So I can give like 10 parameters which may be useful to the farmer, but that is not alone. I need more. What is missing? Why and how it is missing? For what purpose and whose benefit? So we need to ask a lot of questions to ourselves and to stakeholders and figure out what exactly the parameters they have in mind and come up with a complete data strategy which will help me to come up. For example, you can see in the bottom, if you want to contribute to strategic goal for the stakeholder X, Y, Z by doing this. So first thing, I need to find out what is my strategic goal, speaking to my stakeholders, who are my stakeholders, and what should I do continuously. Am I doing right, or should I change something that I'm currently doing which is not going to yield me better results, right? And the second block is the stakeholder outcomes. When I say the stakeholder outcomes, it is, you can see who are all the stakeholders. For example, whatever domain it is, either it is retail or healthcare or farming or insurance or banking or logistics or airline, whatever domain it is, you need to find out your stakeholders. Stakeholders can be internal as well as can be external, right? So we need to come up with a customer journey mapping, and there are several ways. You can just Google it by just typing the customer journey mapping. It has a wonderful layouts of how do you map the customer journey with your organization and where are your weak points. So these are all some of the elements or the strategy model which will help you to understand where the capacities and deficits are there, right? And the ecosystem modeling, it gives you the entire picture of your different elements around you across your organization. And outcome driven innovation is one of the better strategy, where I will just concentrate only on my innovation which is completely outcome driven. So if you see, you have to split the stakeholders into two types. One is external and internal. Internal is always the employee. You have to just see the holistically. From a short term perspective, you want to look at the career of the employee, and from a long term perspective, you have to look at the life of the employee. So as people said, don't just look at the customer, if you take care of your employees, the employees will automatically take care of your customers. So from an employee point of view, we have to really make sure that the employees are taken care and that short term goals or long term goals are achieved, so that they can have better relativity or connectivity with the organization, and they are the one who is going to take you away, take you towards the vision that you have. Without a good team, we cannot succeed. And similarly, from a financial, say for example, HR, or from financial perspective, what is the short term and what is their objective and what is their long term goals, and what is the measures that we put to grow the organization across from an enterprise level. So it is just not going to be a short term goal, and it has to be a long term when the company or an organization, either mid term, whether mid size or a large size, whether how much to what they want to sustain, what is their goal, whether the goal is to just increase revenue or the existence, or they want to diverge or come backward integrate or forward integrate, whatever it is. So they have to have a complete strategy about their vision. Okay, and the external stakeholders are always, when you see the customer, you can see his need and his life. Okay, if you just look at the need, you will just satisfied his one part of the the partial part of what he needs from a long term. You have to look at his full life cycle of the customer, so which will better help him to make his goal achieve as well as your goals achieve. And from a society perspective also, we need to look at the political, environmental and legal aspects. And from our partner or vendor perspective, we need to always look at the relationship and always the financial. You can just run over all the vendors now and then, okay, change the vendors. No, the vendors also has to grow along with us, and that is how they will make the smooth transition, and they can deliver better what we require. And now we will discuss about the outcome complexity that increases based on the information demand. You see, I can just look at the customer not from a selling perspective. I just have to look at his life, right? Okay, so it is not just going to be a one time transaction where I do this and I go away, or provide the service for 1 or 2 years and then cost him for each and everything. So there should be an ease and simplification models for his problem, and we need to provide a solution for that. And what is my capability, should I improve or focus on the customer need, and what is my customer segment, and what is the community involvement in this. Okay, how would I improve the community, not just the customer, and the fundamental to person or business. So for example, it will be a profitable farmer from a farming industry, or live longer or healthier, be financial secure, and optimize power generation. So you need to look at complete 360-degree of a customer angle and find what exactly he requires. And this is just a mission critical priorities. What is just get a high level, you see, the mission critical priorities are activate customers and business growth and cost control. Okay, so there are different elements which we need to look at from the stakeholder perspective and business value. For example, take the stakeholder value for the cost control. It's like percentage out of network, and the percentage claims with the preference provider, and all these things. How can I control my cost, and how can I activate customer? For example, take the information value of the predictive analytics. If I know the complete personalized nature of my customer, I can still help him a lot, rather than putting him under any customer segment, class A, class B, or class C. So if you get a personalized data, that is definitely going to help me a lot in order to make my business drive better. And what are the value propositions that I have? So first block is about the data driven vision. What data should I collect, what parameters are important, and how does it make me to the vision, and what are the different kinds of stakeholders, what is the short term goal or long term goal, and now what is my value proposition, or what is the reason for my existence, and what is the purpose of really I am in this industry. So we need to do a business moment analysis. When I say business moment analysis, it will just take the complete scenario of the existing using the data at the moment, what data and what action to take based on the insights, right? So uh, I'm just trying to understand the situation in a better way by using my data collection and the insights, and what I am doing today and what kind of data brings help me to do a better analysis. So depending on my distinctive goal and strategy, we have the driver, enabler and utility, and these are some of the strategy styles that I'm going to use from an operational excellence, from a customer intimacy perspective, and from the risk management. These are the different parameters which I should look at. And so explore the information innovation possibilities, and how do we adopt. The first thing is how we can adapt whatever they have done, and I need to see like what is important to us from a stakeholder perspective, and from the data and the value insight perspective I can look at the third one, what could the delta tell us, and how will I know my capability and deficits, and what are the possibilities of improvement. Identify the improvement. I look at the enterprise level, should not be just the D&A team gaps. So where data comes from, do we have particular deficits in this area, and what are the different parameters that I should discuss with my stakeholders in order to achieve my goal. If you see for an example like footing for the operating model, there are dependencies of collective business needs. It is not only just one department. So a vision should break down into a lot of small goals and objectives for different departments, and what is the collective business needs, and how do I prepare data based on it. So in this session I'm just going to explain only about the strategy and not how to set up the data model and entire things, and what is my technological capabilities that I should take care during my data setup strategy. Let me summarize the challenge. I need a data driven vision. If there is none, just craft one going forward. And what are the stakeholders outcomes from an internal and external perspective. Even if you provide an utility, just you have to link your goals to your vision. And what are the value propositions that I have to make, and what are the capabilities, and what should I move away from my capability which is not required, and what are the risk parameters that are available, and what is the deficits that I have to improve at a much more deeper level. And this is what I just want to discuss about the data strategy. So when you look at I'm just summarizing what it is about. So if there is no data strategy, definitely it is not going to help the organization to achieve its vision, because it does not know the exact pulse where the organization is leading to. Don't look at the data and analytics strategy at the program level or a project level. It should be looked at an enterprise level. Find out the metrics of success, what is going to drive me, and speak to all stakeholders from internal and external, and find out what exactly you are going to do and what is the purpose of your organization. Focus on getting things on metrics exactly. It is not just going to be a business outcome oriented metrics. Don't just focus on expense reduction, etc. It has to be at an enterprise level. Always look at the data strategy from a short term and long term perspective. Usually organizations make a mistake to look at only at the short term perspective. And this is all about the digital analytics strategy where any company can adopt it. First check whether where you are at the data analytics platform, whether you want to employ a different a complete division for the data analytics, or you have to just a cutover of all the functions, or it is going to be a shared group or an organization, or do you have to employ a PMO, or it's up to the organization level decisions which has to make. And the digital transformation consulting is going to bring is going to tell you that if you have a better analytics and insights for the organization, it is going to help you a lot. Yes, thank you all. I think I helped you enjoy this session, and you have any questions, you can drop me in the below questions link. Thank you for your time. Thank you.